Yesterday was our introduction to Nyakasanga, and I have to say it's by far the best place I've been to in Africa. I've been about all along the Zambezi Valley, Senegal, South Africa, Tanzania, but this place is just way above anything I've ever seen or experienced. There were new experiences. Yesterday we sat on a bank, on a high bank overlooking a dry riverbed, and we watched elephant. We walked up to a bull probably about 10, 12 yards away and watched him dig a hole in the sand and drink water. Totally oblivious to us being there. The wind conditions were right. We saw a troop of parents, cows with their calves, coming in virtually the same area. We were up close. You know, it wasn't touching distance, but wasn't that far off it. The impala, I've never seen impala in herds of 100, 150, 200. Just a stream of them flying past, almost like their feet weren't touching the ground. Zebra just stood there, 20, 30 yards, just stood there looking at us. And then the call of the lion, the roaring of a lion, a herd of buffalo being chased 50, 60 yards behind our tent by a lion. You could hear him grunting as he was trying to get hold of his early morning breakfast. These are things that last forever. I don't know if we'd be able to come back again, but if this was the last hunt we did in Africa, I would be, if this was our swan song, it's the best possible place to have come.
I saw a beautiful dagaboy, wide. You might get some latecomers that might come to the water. But like that one, there's just walking out to the left there.
Yeah.
Big body there.
A solid herd of buffalo feeding along the edge, cows, young bulls, and then there they were. Two old dugger boys are hanging back, heavy bosses, worn tips, the kind of bulls that have lived long enough to earn every scar. It was go time. Keith had made the call to follow this herd, knowing that he could single out the old dugger boy when the time came. And it didn't take long before Keith had caught up with the buffalo. They closed the distance quicker than expected. The herd was just ahead, now close enough to hear them breathing, close enough to smell them. This is where hunts are won or lost. The wind had to stay in our favor. One snapped twig and those old bulls would melt into the bush like ghosts. Keith stayed steady, patient. He began easing through the thick stuff, reading the gaps, using every bit of cover the bush offered. Step by careful step, he maneuvered the team into position. Now it was just a matter of finding the right angle and waiting for the moment they could take the shot.
On the shoulder. Point to the shoulder. Reload. You hit him good. You're almost here. Yeah, you hit him good. Shh. Into it. Nice bullet. Let's just change. Give me some soft curries. That'll do.
Oh, fucking hell. It's a bit of a kicky,
What?
took a bit of a kicking.
Nice bull. Go and take a look. Yeah. Beautiful. Well done, Mr. Jeff. Big bosses, eh? Well done.
Thank you. My first shot was a bit too far forward, I think.
Let's have a look, because he's dead now. So
No, that was the first shot.
yeah, that's your first shot
That's
there.
a bad shot, actually. I went for that.
I think it was maybe a little bit high, but
Yeah.
you still hit the lungs. Eh? He was sick. Eh? Even when you saw in the blood, it was lung blood.
I aimed for that.
Okay.
This is the end of an incredible stalk, because for about 3 or 4 hours we've been behind these guys. We never bumped them, we never spoke them, but they seemed to be on a mission. So they wouldn't slow down, they wouldn't stop. In the end, we came to a spot here where he just came out to look at us. And he gave me a shot. That's a bit far forward, but it still did his lungs. And I think it's broken his shoulder. And he came into this thicket over here and refused to lie down. We had to put 3 or 4 shots into him to finish him off. But this is the best of buffalo hunting. Get into 2 dugger boys, take the bigger of the 2, and stalk him for hours. The stalkers, the trackers were just top drawer, as is the PH. Okay. They made this happen. I pulled the trigger, but I was really glad to be part of it all the way through. But this is a fantastic team to hunt with, and this is probably why this company here produces some of the best hunting in Africa, because they've got the best staff.
Keith had already put a hard-earned dugger boy on the ground early in the safari, and with that weight off their shoulders, the focus shifted to the real mission, elephant. They were on the road before first light, rolling through the dust and mapani, checking every track, every shadow. Bulls showed themselves throughout the morning, good ones, tempting ones, but none carried the age or the weight worth taking. Then, just as the heat began to settle in, the guys spotted another bull moving through the jess. Keith felt it immediately, that quiet pull in the gut that told him this one might be different. This one might be the bull they'd been waiting for. He was just up ahead, buried deep in the thick stuff. A shadow more than a shape, a presence more than a silhouette. The kind of bull that doesn't give himself away easily. The kind that makes you earn every step. Keith slowed his breathing, slowed his feet, and began inching forward, one careful shift of weight at a time. This is where a lifetime of experience stops being a story and becomes a tool. Every lesson, every close call, every long day in the bush folds into moments like this. The final approach, the part no one can teach you, and the part you never forget. The jess was tight, the wind uncertain, the ground littered with dry branches waiting to betray them. Nothing about this was guaranteed. That's the truth of elephant hunting. No matter how well you plan, no matter how well you prepare, the bush always gets the final say. One wrong move, one bad gust, and the whole opportunity can vanish like smoke. But when you have a professional at your side, someone who reads the bush like a book and moves through it like he belongs there, the odds begin to shift, slowly, quietly, in your favor. Step by step, they closed the distance. The bull was still feeding, unaware, massive ears brushing against the branches as he moved. Keith paused, studied the angle, studied the wind, studied the rhythm of the bull's movements. Patience is a weapon here. Rushing is the enemy. Another step, another breath. The world narrowing down to the space between hunter and elephant. The thick stuff pressing in around them, the tension rising, and the moment building. This was it, the approach that decides everything. And Keith could feel it, deep down, the same instinct that had carried him through countless hunts before. This bull, this moment, this was the one they'd been working toward.
Perfect. Perfect. Good shot. Come. Nakasanga. Nakasanga. Good shooting. Frontal brain shot. Nakasanga.
Thank you.
Good shooting, sir.
Nakasanga. Hai sedikit.
Munong Nyakasanga.
Yeah, nice elephant. Beautiful. Beautiful elephant. Well done, Jeff.
We offered initially a virtually perfect side-on range shot, and then he turned and walked towards us. And Keith says, "You've got a frontal brain shot," but we discussed it yesterday.
Yes, sir.
So I knew exactly, very well where to go. Placed it and just squeezed off. And just complete. It's the pleasure of watching him back end go, front end come down, and he's finished. So it's nice to know he didn't suffer. I put another shot into his chest as insurance, but I think he was dead anyways. But it's a lovely stroke. Complicated with double checking on the elephant and things like that. So that added to the excitement of the hunt. We set out at about 5:15 this morning, and we saw an awful lot of elephant. And yet again, we had to go through each one of them. And for one reason or the other, they weren't worth it. So we came across him, and he come into the really thick jess, and it was amazing how close Keith and the tracker brought me into it. Culminating eventually. Initially, I was offered a side brain shot, then he moved, and he walked, started walking into us. I discussed with Keith yesterday about placing the shot, and it worked perfectly. It's a frontal brain shot, and he just went straight down. I put a backup between his front legs, but he was dead.
When the bush finally fell silent and the great bull lay still, the moment shifted from pursuit to tradition. And Keith, the professional hunter who had guided every step of the journey, stood back and allowed the client to take his place. This was his moment, an age-old ritual, passed down through generations of hunters. The client stepped forward, taking the tail with the respect that tradition demands. It wasn't about claiming ownership. It was about acknowledging the animal, the hunt, and the responsibility that comes with taking such a magnificent creature, a gesture of honor, not conquest. Then he knelt beside the elephant, one hand resting on the ivory, feeling the weight and history of the bull he had taken. The size, the age, the sheer presence of the animal told a story far older than any man. In that quiet moment, the adrenaline faded and reflection took its place. Gratitude, respect. A deep appreciation for the life, the land, and the journey that had brought him here. Keith watched on, knowing this was the part of the hunt that stays with a man long after the dust settles, the connection, the humility, the understanding of what it truly means to take an animal of this stature. If you're ready to experience a hunt rooted in tradition, respect, and the raw beauty of Africa, get in touch and book your next adventure.